I'm seeing a disturbing trend of people on the internet that I follow who talk about the astrological movements and energies moving through the galaxy at this time and talk about a new Earth in a way that they diminish and ignore what's happening all around them. Timelines only get forged and solidified when people en masse acquiesce to narratives. Because when you acquiesce to a narrative, you don't make change. You simply follow what you're told to do. And by doing that, you solidify a timeline and you move towards a destination, right? So, for example, the last 3 years, billions of people acquiesced to a narrative and took a medical procedure that has changed their lives, has changed their genealogy, has changed their DNA, has made them, whether they're aware of it or not, has changed their DNA, and they're no longer the men and women they were before they had this medical procedure. In regards to, at least with regards to their biology, and some of them, due to the nature of what's in those medical procedures, have had their ability to connect to spirit completely shut off altogether, so they can no longer connect to spirit at all. Now, what happens after that is your guess is as good as mine. But that narrative has played itself out. And the narrative of the Great Reset, which comes out of Klaus Schwab's World Economic Forum, which is, in my perception, the World Economic Forum is just the Nazi Party surviving the Second World War and a faction of it playing itself out in real time. What they want to create, of course, has piggybacked upon UN Agenda 2030, and the two of them meet somewhere in the middle. And that agenda is going to manifest in our lifetime because so many people on this planet have acquiesced to the narrative and continue every day to acquiesce to the narrative, continue every day to use the system that's been created for them to use. So many have done that the people that do these videos and say, look, we're heading towards this new earth and all these changes are going to take place, all these energetic filaments are coming in right now, light codes are coming in, they're changing people's DNA and they're changing people's bodies and becoming lighter, and gravity is becoming less, and they're floating off into ascension in our bodies in this lifetime. That to me sounds like a whole bunch of new age bullshit. If you look at the historical record of mystery school work, I think the most prescient revealer and researcher of this is Gigi Young, ggyoung.com. If you look at her work in regards to the mystery school work, and also her understanding of how the soul moves through the sojourns of planetary spheres in order to grow and to have experiences of what experiences of being in those planetary spheres, other levels of existence, as it grows and evolves back to source energy. And she reports the mystery school work on this, Edgar Cayce, the Theosophical Society, Rudolf Steiner. If you look at this work, which is really the work for today, which, you know, this work which was brought out in the 1870s through to the 1940s, 1930s, this work is the work that we need to really look towards in regards to researching the process that we're going through right now. Steiner was so onto it in regards to what he revealed in the 1920s and 1900s. What's happening today is like you could take what he said back in the 1900s and bring it in today, and it makes perfect sense. It all aligns. He's basically told us what was going to happen 100 years ago, over 100 years ago, what's going to happen right now in this time, and how to get through it, right? So you have to look at his work, and his work is beautifully elaborated on by Gigi Young. You will see that this whole idea that some people are bringing forward is a trap, in my perception. It's a trap into a place where it's taking consciousness to a place of non-action, and therefore no change. It's all very well to say that we're having these incredible experiences of energetic influx coming onto the planet right now. A lot of those, scientifically, if you look at the information, is coming from the sun, because the sun's about to head into a solar minimum. And therefore, as before it heads into a solar minimum, and if you look at the historical record that David Dubain has actually researched and shown online in his work, Adapt 2030, if you look at his work, you will see that the sun is actually, historically, this goes through phases, and we're now entering into a grand solar minimum. And what happens is the sun eventually, as it goes through a period of activity, quietly goes to sleep, and the earth has to equalize with this process. And we have weather changes, climate changes, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, as the earth shifts and changes to this lack of activity coming from the sun, as the two spheres no longer talk to each other in that energetic sense. So we're seeing that happen right now, right? That's a fact. It's provable. It's a scientific fact, right? What's also a fact is that the mystery schools knew how the Yuga cycles work, and how the historical record of what happened over thousands and thousands and thousands of millions of years took place. And people like Edgar Cayce gives us detailed information through his readings about how the process happened, how it works for souls coming here. And Rudolf Steiner did incredible work in regards to revealing Ahriman's presence on this planet at this time, and the harvest of consciousness into the eighth sphere. I'm not going to get into that because it's a very deep rabbit hole. But to me, all this talk of his light codes coming in, gravity getting less dense, our bodies, we're ascending in our bodies for the first time in history. All of this sounds to me like a massive, convoluted psyop, a new age psyop. And I really feel it does one thing to me. I hear one thing: the lack of non-action from people. It's put people into a place of panacea for the age. I don't have to do anything because the light codes are coming in, and my body's taking the light codes in, and I'm becoming lighter and less dense, and gravity's getting less, and I'm floating away into the fifth dimension. No, you're not. I'm sorry. You believe that, you're going to end up in a pen in a smart city under the Great Reset, because you've done nothing. You've done nothing. The only way to make change in this dimension, 3D, which is what you are in, 3D, is to take action. Physical action. That's it. You take action. You take action. You want to create a paradise, and you have to take action. The first premise of this action is non-compliance with the system it chooses and wants to enslave you. And they have made no effort at all not to hide this. It's out there for everyone to see. The legal system, the Roman legal system, which is throughout the entire Western world, is a slavery system, as much as it is in China with the Communist Chinese Party system as well. They're both slavery systems. Both of them are slavery systems. And you have to research and take action to get out of it, get more into the private. It's all it takes. Throughout the last 40, 50 years, 100 years, 200 years, they have told us, the dark elites have told us exactly what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, through media, through think tanks, through exposés, through research papers, through documents, through talking heads, leaders of the political leaders, the Great Reset, Agenda 2030, Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, Agenda 21. They're all the same thing, but they all meet somewhere in the middle. Different forces, the same hand, different fingers. Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Schwab, whoever it might be. They're just puppets for the real power behind the curtain, but they all have the same goal at hand in mind. A heavily reduced population, a central bank digital currency, world global currency, people microchipped and bitched up to AI from satellites in outer space. Total control of everywhere, 15-minute smart cities, every single part of your life controlled. And that narrative will solidify, and the timeline will solidify, if people en masse continue to acquiesce to the narrative and don't get off their asses and make change. Walk away from the system and create something new in regards to community and grassroots movements, and it's happening on a minute scale globally, not massively, minute scale globally at the moment anyway. Over the next 50 years, you might see it grow bigger and bigger and bigger. But the Great Reset, in my perception, provided we don't go through a global, we don't go through a World War III scenario where it's total devastation, or the Project Bluebeam alien invasion event happens and they completely decimate the fucking planet, Independence Day style, or we have massive global upheaval in regards to geophysical events, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, etc., or a pole shift. Provided those things don't happen and that the powers that be don't see them coming, which is ridiculous because they know that they're basically the ones that will hijack those particular events or create them, manufacture them. The collapsing of society, all the tenets of society and the other systems we're in right now are being just that. They are being manufactured to collapse. So therefore, they can offer us the solution. The Hegelian dialect, problem, reaction, solution. The problem is that everything's crumbling. The reaction is people go, what do we do? Freak out. Solution comes along. Central bank digital currencies. Come on, get it right. 15-minute smart cities. People bitch up to AI. A UBI. That's one scenario. And it's a timeline that could manifest in our lifetime because people are acquiescing to the narrative en masse. That's how timelines manifest. There is a divergent timeline being created at the same time, or divergent timelines being created at the same time, but they are so fucking small. They are so small. And they might get bigger over the years. In this moment right now, they are so small because people are not taking action. They want to be parented by the governments in the countries that they're in. Most people in the West are being parented by governments. Their parents are their governments. They're children still. They need to get off their fucking asses and take responsibilities for their lives in every single way. No more parenting from the governments. Tell the governments to go fuck themselves in their Great Reset. Go fuck yourself. Walk away from their system completely and create a new one together in communities. But we're not seeing that en masse. So therefore, the timeline that these Muppets, these dark elite Muppets want to create, it will manifest in our lifetime because most people are acquiescing towards it. So the whole idea of a new earth, in my perception, is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Unless there is massive shifts in conscious awareness and people will truly take action. Get off their asses and make the change they want to see in the world. Forget about it. Forget about that shit. You're going to be moving towards that prison cell of the Great Reset. It's going to happen for you in your life unless you take action. It's as simple as that. Get off your ass, say no thank you, and find ways to get out of the system. Get out of it. Non-compliance. No thank you, not interested. Get out of it. But most people won't do that because it's too hard. It's too hard. But I understand. It's too hard. Got children, got mortgages, got jobs. All these things can be negated in very different ways. You have to study, you have to research, find the time to do it, but there's so many distractions for people. And this particular distraction for me, and when I'm listening to these people talk on this YouTube video I'm watching at the moment, in regards to the new earth, which I think I have to study because for me, to study this kind of stuff and see this being played out, the psyop being played out by unwilling or willing people in regards to this this belief pattern, running towards this beautiful utopian world in 2 years. To me, it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I think what they need really is to take a step back and have a look at themselves and what they're saying. And I would suggest also a good look at Mark Passio's work would be very important in regards to their understanding of the 3D reality we live in and how to actually take action in this 3D reality in order to create the world that they want to create, because it's quite simple. And Mark Passio's work in regards to how he explains building that utopia, building that world that we want our children to live in potentially, and our children's children to live in and grow up in. We, the pioneers, have to take the action to create it. No one's coming to save us. There's no fucking white hats. There's no Galactic Federation. The timelines will solidify and forge ahead if we don't say no and don't comply with them. They will forge ahead. And there's no amount of energy coming into the planet right now that's going to save us. There's no amount of Galactic Federation bullshit coming to save us. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. No one's coming down to save us. We have to grow up and take full responsibility for our lives. And nonsense like this, ascending in our lifetime in our bodies, is just that nonsense. Just nonsense. Absolute nonsense. We're the same energies as we were in Atlantis 12,500 years ago. And look what happened then. If people had risen up then and said no to the Belial group, get away from the two-eye crystal, don't you dare tune that up anymore, no more wars of conquest, no more fighting over control and power, then Atlantis would have survived. But it was destroyed, and it sent the world into a global cataclysmic event that completely annihilated all civilizations and sent most of the survivors all over the earth and into the earth and into outer space. And we're heading right in the same direction right now as we were 12,500 years ago. Are we going to have another Younger Dryas-like situation on our planet due to the nature of a cataclysmic event, engineered or piggybacked upon? I don't know. Are we going to have a third world war that sees complete decimation of the entire planet? To a point that it looks like Berlin after the Second World War ended, but on a global scale? I don't know. Are we going to see a Project Bluebeam Independence Day kind of event where the entire planet is decimated to a point where it's unrecognizable? I don't know. I do know that if we take action and non-comply with the system in every way en masse, none of those things can happen. None of them. Not even the Younger Dryas-like type event. Because we have a technology to be able to stop that from happening. I believe that. For the benefit of all beings on this planet. Or at least tuning it down to or finding solutions to get through it and for everyone to survive. But that all depends on us. Take action. Don't sit on your ass and wait for the world to change. It's not going to happen. And this time, it's about taking action. Oh, lastly, before I go, Gurdjieff's work, George Gurdjieff's work, the Fourth Way work, so important right now, so important what he was bringing into the 20th century in regards to action, taking action. Understanding something is one thing, but putting it into embodiment and embodying it in the world are two different things. Thanks for watching. I truly appreciate it. Matewa. I'll see you again soon.